Welcome to the Mavpuckcast featuring guest host. I'm Bridget.
And I'm Jolene.
And we get to do this week's Mavpuckcast because our regularly scheduled podcast hosts are traveling for work and producing the podcast today. Isn't that right, Jolene?
That's right. Jason's off in Pittsburgh with our oldest at a hockey tournament. So we're taking over.
We stole the microphone and here we go. So it's going to be pretty much the same format that our regular listeners are used to, but you get to hear a little bit different perspective today. So first of all, let's talk about this last weekend series, Jolene. What do you want to say about this, the series versus the Maine Black Bears?
Well, first, I would say it was really fun to see a team that I haven't seen play before. I don't remember the last time we played Maine, but I know that I hadn't seen them play. So that was really fun to see a new team. And of course, to get a sweep out of the weekend, you know, that's even better.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. We played out at Maine in 2019, and I think they were supposed to come here last year, but no non-conference series due to COVID. So it was exciting to have them come into Baxter for their first time. And this was actually their first series of the year. They had not had a series previously.
That's right. They played an exhibition game, but lost. So this was their first games, and unfortunately for them, they lost. But fortunately for us, we won.
I'm okay with that. So you're not going to get the technical analysis, listeners and viewers that you might get from John and Jason, but I do have some thoughts about the series. And I'm sure you do too, Jolene. So
I do.
I'm going to say one of the things that was really interesting to me about this series is it kind of was a slow roll. And then, we scored first and then we let them tie it up. And then we, held on and in Saturday's case, poured on, several goals in the third. But it was kind of I always like to use the, finish strong analogy. I use it at Disney and all kinds of places. Finish strong. And that really impressed me that they didn't get down when things didn't go their way, and then they were able to hold on. What were your thoughts?
I agree with you there. Like the fact that they just never gave up and they kept fighting through the whole thing. They had to come back from being tied and from being down. And I really loved all of the new players, the freshmen, really getting into it and really making a difference in both games.
I had the same thoughts. I tweet the games live. When you're following Mavpuck on Twitter, that's me, except for the humorous stuff. That's John. The factual game, scores and updates is me. And one thing that I noticed is we had really balanced scoring. I was looking at the people who scored on Friday: Berg, Ward, Randall, and then Randall again. Saturday, Primo, Conley, Berg, Miller, and Proctor. That's a lot of different scorers.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it was coming from different lines too. Kind of in the past, we've seen a lot of offensive, production from maybe one line, but this was kind of every line was a real threat on the ice.
I love to see that. That just makes it so much more interesting as a fan, and also unpredictable for those opposing teams. They can't just shut down, one or two guys. Everyone was a threat.
Absolutely. The other thing that was a really big factor in the game was the special teams, right? There were a lot of penalties. I think there were 11 on Friday and 12 I think on Saturday. So there was a lot of 5-on-4 both ways. I think they had 7 on Friday night, but we had 7 on Saturday night. So
very balanced there as well.
They were actually a really balanced team all across the board. If you looked at shots and faceoffs and everything, they were very evenly matched teams.
Definitely. And that's why it was so close early on. I found it nerve-wracking, but I'm always, nervous as a fan. The other thing, you mentioned a lot of penalties. I noticed freshman Vincent, and I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, Mancini. He found the box 5 times. And sometimes when that happens, you think, wow, maybe he's a little bit of a goon or, just having a hard time adjusting. I didn't get that sense at all. I thought that he was a really strong player. I think he got totally jobbed on that one call. That was a huge, Academy Award winning performance by the Maine player. But I also noticed him quite a bit. I was really impressed by his play.
I did. The other player that I noticed, and in the past has kind of been for being in the box, was Abate. And he had such a different game this year so far than he had last year.
I agree. I tweeted that as well. I said, I was really impressed by him. And when I was considering who I was going to pick for my player of the game, I thought, he really did not make the score sheet, but I noticed him in a good way. I was so happy that he was able to get into the play and not get targeted by the refs for his play. I feel like that happened a lot last year.
And I feel like he kept his play a lot more under control this year. Like he didn't let that, anger or whatever it is kind of come out. He kept his cool, but he still stood up for his teammates too when he needed to.
Yep. And not to be Joey, but you do have to work on your breakaways, because there was one that, man, I thought he was going to get that.
So close.
But that's
there he had several times I thought, well, he's just not getting his shots this year, these games, but it'll come.
It will. No, so like I said, Abate didn't make my top player of the weekend, but let's talk about who we thought was the most impactful. Who did you think had the biggest impact in this Maine series?
I actually went with Seville, because I think he made some amazing saves at really key times. Like he really kept them in the game and gave them a chance, especially when it was tied and when they were losing. When you're killing that many penalties off, you gotta have a goaltender that can kind of stand on their head a little bit. And I think he did that for the team. I think he said last weekend that he felt that he kind of let the team down on, I guess it was Saturday's game, the first game, but he's really come on strong since then. And I think he was a star both nights this weekend. So who was your player of the game?
Well, I went with a forward, because that's always, it's easy to pick a forward, especially the flashy. And I actually picked somebody who didn't score a goal, but who made an impact with assists, and who, like I said, I noticed a lot. And that was Brandon McManus. He is a transfer to the program, so this is his first year, but he really impressed me with his play. I think he meshes really well with some of our existing players, especially our high scoring forwards. And I noticed, again, from tweeting the game, I was finding his handle quite a bit this weekend. So I think that he really is a great addition to the Maverick team, and looking forward to more of his performance this season.
Absolutely. Yeah. These freshmen are really, really impressive. So
love it. All right. So we're going to continue the boys format, and we're going to do next a shootout segment. And we have a couple more topics than the boys. So this might not be as fast paced as John and Jason did last week, but we certainly have a lot to talk about in terms of, what's going on around the game and kind of peripheral to the on ice action. And the first thing that I want to talk about is a follow-up, actually, to what John and Jason were talking about last week, and they had no information about, and that was mobile ordering. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so actually a little bit. So Friday night, trying to get some food for the kids, and my mom actually had her Apple Pay card. Well, they don't take Apple Pay mobile, but they also don't take the Apple Pay card because it doesn't have a swipe bar. It only has a chip, so no go there. So then on Saturday, I was like, oh, my wallet's all the way back in my seat. Let me try the new QR code. So I scanned it. I was able to pop in, get my hot dog and my drink, and it was ready right away. It was actually pretty slick, and you can use Apple Pay from the mobile device. So I definitely recommend that.
So again, at the concessions, no luck paying Apple Pay at the counter, but if you do want to use Apple Pay, use their QR code and do mobile order. Yeah, cool. Like I said, I haven't actually ordered any food there, so maybe but not so far. All right. So the reason why you were trying to make it back up to your seat on Saturday minus your wallet is you were supposed to have an additional duty as a fan on Saturday. What was that all about?
I was. So the normal Mavboni driver was at the Husker game and was looking for some substitutes. So Friday night, I actually trained and did a couple hot laps. It went well. I didn't crash. I didn't die out there. Made it back off okay. Although my kids said that I drove a little too slow, but however, when I went down on Saturday, there was another person who has trained and subbed, and there was some miscommunication. So I said, okay, that's fine. You can do it. I'll go watch the game. No problem. Because my daughter was in Pittsburgh playing at the same time. And so then I could watch both games at the same time. So that worked out well. However, there was a little bit of struggle with the Mavboni. So I'll let you kind of explain that a little bit there.
So I actually got a video of this because, again, I was anticipating you were going to be the substitute Mavboni driver. And so I was just prepared to tape it. And I sometimes do cover it when Greg is out there picking up the fish, because it's nice to have that as Twitter content. But I was filming this, and I think we're going to overlay it if you're watching the video of this. And if not, I'm going to post it on YouTube because I think this is an instant classic. But the fish was thrown successfully on the ice.
In a perfect spot.
Oh, beautiful. And then the orange armband referee decided on his own accord to give it a little kick.
Towards the main bench.
So tell me, Jolene, from the substitute Mavboni driver side of stuff, how does that make it more difficult?
So it's much easier to make the left-hand turn around. So, Greg was telling me, I was training, he's like, oh, hopefully they don't get the fish all the way over to the main bench, because it's a lot harder to pick it up from that side. And sometimes you get sprayed with water bottles and such from the opposing players. So if they keep it on the other side, that's a lot easier to get in. It's harder to make that right-hand turn to come back around. But unfortunately, since the ref kicked it all the way over there, there was nothing that Andy could do but go over and try to get it.
Yeah, you pointed out he probably could have stopped to pick up the fish, and that might have helped a little bit, but he just did not have a lot of room to work with.
There was not a lot of room. It was right up against the boards. So,
so
although I was thinking, man, I'm glad that's not me out there. Although I'm sure he was thinking, man, I wish I would have let her do it tonight instead.
Yeah. Again, I think it all comes down to why that official felt like he had to move the fish. It was perfectly positioned. I don't know what he was thinking, but This is going to be a moment that Maverick fans that were in attendance are going to remember for a very long time, because I have not laughed that hard in a very
yes. Then they took them out the other side and they had to move it all the way back across. So it was an adventure. But Friday was an adventure too, right? Because we scored. They threw the fish. He goes and picks it up. It's all good. Then they review it. Offsides, no goal. So luckily it happened towards the end of the first, so that they were able to use the intermission to get the fish back up to the fish thrower, and we did it again. So
and I think that may be the first time that they have actually rethrown the fish and repicked it up again. We'll have to check the history book.
Yeah, but Greg was telling me that they threw it one other time, but he knew it wasn't a goal, so he didn't go and pick it up. But
yeah, so history was made on the ice with the Mavboni this weekend, and that was again very entertaining. Now, one of the things that we discovered when you were down in the pit on Friday night was that there was going to be a little bit of a change in terms of clearing the excess ice off of the ice. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so they've decided to get the youth teams involved a little bit more. So for every media timeout, the youth skaters are going out and they are clearing the whole ice. Come out from the Zamboni entrance, take the little shovels, go all the way to the end, and then come back. They kind of make, I think you pointed it out on Twitter, a flying V formation. It looks cool, although I do have to wonder what the players thought, because it looked like that there was a lot of snow piled up in some spots that aren't normal, especially when they closed the doors. The snow kind of piled up there. I didn't really notice that the puck really got stopped in any of the snow, though I did notice some players kind of during a whistle kind of using their stick and wiping the snow out of the way. So but I think it's great to get the youth hockey players involved.
it's definitely unique. And like I said, it was very entertaining to watch the Mighty Ducks flying V formation. But I think that they need to maybe do a little bit of practice, because those kids went out cold, because we were down there when they got there. They didn't get any practice. So I think that'll improve over time.
I don't think they got any training either.
No, I so.
Just like, here's your shovel, go.
I was impressed. The kid that was on the goalie that did the kid of the game, I thought for sure he was going to be on the ice clearing thing, and I was going to be super impressed because he was full goalie gear. But
full goalie gear. But props to him for putting all that stuff on just to go out there and
wave a flag.
Oh, so maybe a little bit off topic, but kind of along those lines, because we're talking about him. The mic didn't work on Saturday night for our national anthem singer.
That was great.
He did an amazing job of, you could, we sat way up high, but we could still hear him. So kudos to him for
of pipes on him, because he had his mask on, and like you said, we could hear him all the way up in 216. So props to Drew on that one. But he just rolled with it. He just kept going.
Yes.
I love it. So speaking of new things, because we talked about new ice clearing thing, we had some new features added to the game this weekend, and I think one of them was really successful. I think one of them got some kind of iffy feedback, and I'm hopeful that he wasn't too discouraged by what went on. But let's talk first about Anna Bellinghausen as a UNO student, and she started a new segment where she interviewed Coach Gabinet between periods, and then interviewed one of the stars of the game at the end. What did you think about that?
I loved it. There were some technical difficulties on Friday. I'm not sure what happened in the first intermission, some miscommunication, and then the second one, the mic quite wasn't to Gabinet's mouth, so that we couldn't quite hear what he said. But Saturday, the interview was great, and I loved hearing from the players at the end. That's something that I've seen them do at NHL games and stuff, and I think it's really cool to get to hear directly from them how they felt on the game. Impacts right afterwards. So I enjoyed it. I hope they keep doing it.
I agree with you. And like I said, usually we only get those kinds of feedback when you watch like a post-game press conference highlights and that sort of stuff. And I think it's really neat for the fans to get, like you said, that real-time interaction. I think Gab being so soft-spoken, it was great that she got the microphone a little closer to his mouth on Saturday, because the process is very, quiet. And so, but like I said, I love that. I hope that is a segment that continues going forward. And like you said, from a player of impact at the end of the game, I hope they're not by that. I mean, they could. And then from the not quite as 10 out of 10 side of things, I believe his name is Andrew. He's new to the staff, athletic staff this year, and he really worked hard on Friday night to pump up that student section, which was wonderfully filled with homecoming supporters, but a little too much enthusiasm, I think. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think sometimes the crowd does need pumping up. They can be a little low on the enthusiasm sometimes, especially when the game isn't super, super exciting. Though I think it was maybe a little over the top. And I heard mixed reviews. I definitely saw some people that were like, yeah, this is great, we like him. And there were others that were like, oh, no, please, no more. And I think you've got to find that balance between the people that have been around the program for a really long time and are kind of set in their ways of how they like things, and bringing in new people. I think John and Jason talked about it last time, how the crowds were low. I mean, it's October, we're competing with a lot of different things. And sometimes you need that kind of over the top to get some new people and new fans in the building and stay and enjoy it. What did you think?
Well, and again, you're absolutely correct. I think that is the challenge. The old veteran fans like us, set in our ways, we go to the game. We're not here to get, pumped up. This isn't, minor league baseball, that sort of thing. But I did like how he interacted with the students. So I was sad he wasn't there on Saturday. I don't know what happened. I hope he wasn't discouraged, but I think that's where to go with the students, help get them more involved, because we've seen this over the last, 7 years at Baxter Arena. That student section really can help increase the energy in the building. And like Jason was out with, 3,000 fans, you really have to do something to get people excited and on their feet, and the players feed off of it. So I don't want him to be discouraged. I hope he finds a balance there.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So the last in our shootout segment has to do with masks, not necessarily directly mask wearing. We definitely have a lot of thoughts about that. But what are your thoughts with the idea of the music volume and the masks, and then also our Summit Dental Health, which is not a sponsor of this podcast, contest?
So the music, especially before the game, it's pretty loud. So when you're wearing a mask, it's kind of hard to hear the other person. Obviously, you can't read their lips with your masks on. I don't think it needs to be turned down a lot, but maybe just a tad. But maybe that's because I'm old and I don't like loud noises. No. But the thing that really stuck to me was the smile cam. I'm like, if we're having a mask mandate, which I fully support, because I want to go and I want to enjoy the games, but I also want to be safe. I don't know that having a smile cam is probably the best thing to do. Then you're actually encouraging people to take their masks off,
which was frankly happening anyway. And your dad, I think it was, noticed an interesting, caveat to the mask mandate. Do you want to tell the folks about what he noticed?
Yeah, he said the signs specifically say you must have a mask to enter Baxter Arena. It doesn't say that you have to have it on inside. Although I did read, the emails that they sent out that said masks were required at all times unless you were eating. So there maybe is some inconsistent messaging there. I would say around where we said, mostly fairly good mask wearing, but definitely not 100% compliance, that's for sure.
And see, I would say we're at probably 40 to 50% mask compliance. Looking around, and again, I try not to spend too much time, looking at other stuff, but we have an attendance streak, and John and I have been super careful, especially over the last 18 months, to avoid exposure to COVID. And so we wear our masks and try and stay away from people, but it is not being enforced at Baxter Arena. And whether people are sitting there with their beverage and just holding it to have the mask off, or what's going on, it's just, like I said, if you're going to have the mask mandate, don't have a smile cam contest, because you're not helping the case. Although there were some folks that used their masks during the smile cam, and good for them.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's it for the shootout portion. Let's talk about what's coming up for our Mavpuck hockey team in the upcoming week as we continue this unprecedented, outside of last year's pod, homestand of 10 home games between now and November 6th. Who's up next?
We've got up next is Alaska Fairbanks. And actually, this is going to be just the first of 4 meetings that we have with them. So they're coming here to Omaha. We'll play them here next weekend on Friday and Sunday next weekend. So another slightly different schedule. But then we will go to Alaska in November. So excited to kind of see them, since we're going to play them several times this weekend, or this year, I should say.
I would say, this weekend and again.
Yes.
That a lot of fans might not realize is that Alaska has now become an independent team once again. They lost their conference affiliation. The WCHA had both Alaska teams as part of their conference makeup, and then they essentially booted out the 2 Alaska teams by starting a completely different conference with a very old conference name, the CCHA. So the WCHA dropped the 2 Alaska teams and became the CCHA. And UAA, Alaska Anchorage, actually dropped men's hockey. And I was concerned when that happened that might be the end of Fairbanks too, because again, they were now a team without a conference. But they've done a great job of finding teams to play. They were scheduled to play Minnesota, which is currently ranked number 3 in the nation. And unfortunately, Fairbanks had a COVID outbreak, which caused that to be postponed. So what are your thoughts about how the Mavs might match up with the Nanooks?
Well, it's kind of going to be, I think they're going to match up pretty well. It's kind of hard to tell because I think you mentioned that they didn't play last year. So we don't have a lot of recent, and I believe you found this, that they have 17 freshmen on their team. So they're a really young team. They did play this weekend against Clarkson and split. So they got their first win of the season and got some games under them. But I think we will come out really strong against them. My only fear is that, sometimes when we play teams that on paper we are clearly, better than, we tend to kind of play down to our competition instead of sticking to our game. So that concerns me a little bit. But I think with this group of guys, I think they've kind of learned that to not do that, especially in the NCHC. Like, you cannot take any weekend for granted. Like, you got to play every single time, and you never know what's going to happen on the ice. So,
well, and channeling my inner John and Jason, these are important non-conference series because of who they played. Clarkson, which is part of a conference. They're playing us. We're part of the NCHC. They're playing Minnesota, assuming that rescheduled series comes off, which is part of the Big Ten. So this can be a huge weekend in terms of the pairwise. And again, we're not going to talk all the technical details about it, but it is important to beat teams from other conferences because of who they end up playing. And you never know, they might sneak up and beat Minnesota, and that might be huge for us down the line. So I just wanted to clarify. So with COVID last year, the WCHA had decided to postpone their conference start into December. And then they decided and announced in December that they were not going to play. So I think it's something like 580 days or something that Alaska hadn't played before this last weekend. So, for that reason, and like you said, 17 freshmen and 2 new assistant coaches, I think that they're dangerous if we look past them. But like I think that if the guys play like they did this weekend, and again, they finish strong and stay out of the box and all the things that we preach that they should do, I think that they listen to us. Come on, guys.
They should listen to us. They should play 5-on-5 hockey. No penalties.
That's right. Unless they're power plays, in which case I'm really for that.
Absolutely. We'll take a power play anytime.
So again, continuing the John and Jason tradition, let's talk about what your predictions are then, now that we've kind of analyzed their strengths and weakness. What do you think is going to happen with Alaska next weekend?
I really want to I think I'm going to pick a sweep, although I'm a little nervous doing that because I feel like, there could be a tie in there or an overtime, only because of this. They're going to get thrown off by the Friday, Sunday. And I'm thinking, is it Parents' Weekend next weekend?
I don't know that. That's a really
not positive. I know it's coming up pretty soon. So sometimes the team gets thrown off when the schedule isn't exactly the same. But maybe last year in the pod and playing every other day fixed that. We can do it. We can play any day now.
Well, and we've already had 2 Sunday series, which I have to tell you, John and I are Vala's season pass holder, and we normally go to Vala's on Sunday. So I gotta be honest, I am not loving the Sunday games because it's messing with my Vala's time, but Mavpuck hockey comes first. So I'm going to be there. But I do now want to kind of put an asterisk on mine. I was going to pick a sweep too, and I'm still going to, but you are correct. We have had some very interesting weekends when the parents are in attendance. So I'm going to pick a sweep, but I'm going to put a little asterisk on it just in case to cover myself, because like you said, not so much because of the Friday, Sunday aspect of it, but just playing in front of their parents, sometimes it just throws them off a little bit.
It does. So,
but we'll be excited. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
We'll be excited to see all of the fans at Baxter Arena again. Friday night, the regular 7:07 start, and then Sunday, 4:07 start. I hope that folks come out, especially for that Sunday game. It just seems like attendance is tough, but they're having it early in the afternoon. You can come on out, see the game, still get home. You have kids, get them fed, make sure all their homework's in their backpack, and get them out the door.
Yep. And sometimes those Sunday games are great for families that, can't have their kids stay up super late. So it's a great way to get some exposure. So hopefully people can make it out to those games. Should be fun.
All right. Wrap it up, Jolene.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this special edition with Bridget and I. And you'll just have to tune in next time to see who's going to show up. We never know. But in the meantime, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.